The essence of every spiritual path has one essential nature: to become more subtle. No matter what kind of spiritual path that you follow, no matter whether it's monotheistic, theistic, polytheistic, pagan, shamanistic, demonic, or animistic, and whatever set of beings you choose to work with, whether it be working with, or worshiping, or even reviling, all paths that are spiritual, in essence, lead to becoming more subtle in one fashion or another, one way or another. To become more subtle is to become vaster, to become bigger than what we are at our most gross, our most material, our most solid. In the material realms, in the multiverse, there are many different material universes in the multiverse. And the realms are just kind of groupings of universes. There is a lack of subtlety. It takes a long time for life, from cells, bacteria, amoebas, all the way to plants or animals, and then to human beings. There's a whole lot of development. There's a whole lot of steps. And we have so much freedom and we have so much ability to choose our own nature because what we are materially is so solid. It's so, this is what you are. You choose what you do with it. There's less freedom for spirits, for jinn, for demons, angels. There's less freedom in choosing the subtler parts. That's why so many different spiritual paths can lead into a number of different ways to be subtle, ways of manifesting your relationship to your astral body and then your astral body itself. Because we can develop the subtlety from this point, this very solid point. We have this dock, this anchor that is material existence, that is these material universes. And if we work on being subtle in various ways, it can go just virtually infinite number of ways of being subtle. That's why we can choose a spiritual path. If you're born as an angel, a demon, a jinn, some kind of spirit, some kind of white, some kind of elemental being, and tap with some kind of elemental force like fire, earth, air, water. There's some part of your nature that is clearly defined. For us, our anchor is materiality, and then we get to choose which path we follow from this strong and very solid anchor. It takes longer, but we have more freedom. And becoming more and more subtle requires a fine-tuning of your senses, a fine-tuning of your ideas, a fine-tuning of how you think itself. Because regularly, on the average person, our mind's an extension of our animal nature. Food, sleep, sex, and fear, and compassion based on survival, very, very, very solid things, but so fundamentally us that we can't imagine existing in other ways like these spirits do, where everything is so much more defined for them, these daemons. What we do during life, what we think about, what we work on spiritually, our spiritual practice is our magic as magi. Our spirituality, and when we work with spirits, when we work with the earth itself, there's so much behind the earth and the soil that we're made up of, and all life is made up of as we know it. There's so much behind that. There's so much spiritual activity behind that we can't quite measure yet. Lifetrons are more subtle than electrons, and lifetrons are kind of a conscious electron that subtly influences everything. And these lifetrons are very, very hard to detect with instruments for sure, but even with the senses. That's why we have to hone our senses. If you don't find a path here, or you don't, if you don't choose a path or work towards some kind of spiritual path, whether it be meditating to feel the Kundalini within yourself and feeling how it interacts with all the various energy centers along your spine and the Ida and Pingala Nadis, and how they combine and connect at the top of the head, feeling those subtler energies, attuning to those through meditation and energy work. A lot of it's mental affirmations. Mother Kundalini, I ask that you come to the heart center and awaken your energy there. Holding your hands like this at your heart center, right in the middle of your chest. And just trying to feel that energy. And just say, Mother Kundalini, please rise to this station and purify this space. Something as simple as that, hand motion, closing your eyes and focusing on that energy center internally with your concentration. That's subtle attunement. Or say, Mother Earth, left hand upward facing on one thigh, this right hand downward facing to the side of your leg towards the earth. And while you have your spine erect and you have your right hand pointing at the ground, the left hand on your left thigh, Mother Kundalini, please clear out my left energy channel. Please move all of my attachment to desire and fear in my past. Move it into Mother Earth and clear my left channel, Mother Kundalini. You're talking to the energy within yourself. And the position of your hands being very connected to everything else in your body energetically, physically, but also energetically, holding your stance like that, one hand towards the earth, one hand up on your thigh, and just making that affirmation and just sitting and clearing your mind. These things are so aligned within us as material beings that if we do that physically, it's almost like locking in different pieces of an aqueduct or different pipes. And it's like, okay, and then the energy knows what to do. It will do it because we physically channel it that way. We allow that all the negativity to go into the earth, and the earth can take it. It can take it and kind of cleanse that energy, and then it goes back up into other beings and other people. But most importantly, the negativity is taken out of us. Rivers and oceans can do the same thing. But, physically, it takes a long time of doing something like that and meditation to actually align yourself with those energies mentally and physically to where it's very effective. It's like you're building channels, you're building pipes, and it's connected to all your neural synapses and the subtle energies of those things. It's all connected. But physically, at first and for a while, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything. It just feels like it's some kind of weird spiritual mumbo jumbo, and you're just making the effort because why not? And if you really don't believe it, then you might not even make the effort. You might not give it a chance. You might not speak to that energy within yourself, Mother Kundalini. But in order to benefit from a birth in the astral realm, you have to attune to a certain spiritual path. Whatever spiritual path that is, becomes subtle in some way. If you don't, then you'll have an earthly birth and then an astral birth where you're just completely asleep because you're so not in tune with your subtler nature. You're so not in tune with your astral body. You're so identified with your physical that your soul and your life force doesn't know how to exist in anything but the physical. So it just sleeps between births. Sometimes those material births in this world just happen very soon after each other because you can't make any progress in a subtler realm because you never attune to anything more subtle. You never attuned your energy to something more subtle. You never tried to identify with it. You never tried to hone the finer parts of your nature to such an extent that you can make any progress in a subtler realm. So you just sleep in your astral birth before coming back here. As a general rule, if you attune to a spiritual path, then your astral birth could be something like 500 years of 500 years in our version of time, give or take some, because time is different in astral realms. Things don't decay as quickly. But if you attune to a certain spiritual path, your astral birth, you'll make progress. You'll start moving forward, and you'll have to come back here a lot of the time, most of the time, unless you are far enough ahead to where you can just be subtle. But if you can't just be subtle, you'll have to come back here. But you can make progress in the astral realm in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, if it can be negative, it can be positive, it can be gray, it can be chaotic. There's all kinds of ways you can attune yourself. It's not just an up and down ideology or understanding in terms of astral. But I mean, ultimately, yeah, I mean, there's two directions when you look at multiple lifetimes on this earth and then astral realm. There's two directions, but there's a lot of experimentation in the astral realm as well, just like here. But in order to actually keep on working, even while you're asleep in these more subtler realms, if you're asleep, if you're asleep, you can't do any more work. But if you attune to subtler natures and become more spiritual in some way, shape, or form or fashion here, then you can make progress in the astral realm between births. And then you get a birth that you might be around more spiritual people, or it's not always that you're rich. Sometimes being born rich is not karmically good. And it might just make you more attached to things here, because even if you work really hard and, if you're nice to people, that does way more for you as far as your energy goes, more subtler energy, because you're not identifying with just this life. So that actually does help attune you. But if you work hard and, you go through this life having a job, you go to the job every day, you're consistent, you're kind of nice to your family and friends, but you're just really focused on getting money, not just to survive. If you just have to survive, you're at that stage. But if you just focus on everything that you gain here that is material, then you don't really go anywhere. It's almost like you're stationary, and then you're born again and again and again. You might make little progress every life. You might sleep during your astral birth and come back here, make a little bit more progress. But working your whole life for just material things and to be just for material things and valuing material things, it doesn't get you anywhere in the spiritual realm. And if you're so identified with that and you don't attune spiritually at all, then you're just going to be asleep during your astral birth and not make any progress. So it's good to keep everything in perspective. No matter what spiritual path you choose, don't just focus on manifesting things here. Focus on tuning yourself to subtler desires, subtler goals, subtler understandings and alignments and identifications with your more subtler parts of yourself. That's why spiritual paths are so important, because otherwise we might as well just be animals where we work to produce, from our loins, and we work to eat. And if we just never contemplate anything spiritual or philosophical or have any kind of spiritual practices, what ends up happening is that it's just an endless cycle of samsara. Birth, death, suffering, and we never really get ahead. Now, if you're born into a spiritual community that's very positive, or you're born and you find a guru early on in life or even later on in life, it took a lot of work to get there in this realm and in the astral realms. I use the term realm and realms very loosely because, gatherings of universes and such, but the essence of every spiritual path is to make you more subtly attuned in some way. That's what it is. And no matter how much work you do as far as a job goes, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not negative karmically, but you'll probably just end up in a similar life the next material human birth that you have. It takes a whole lot of bad karma to become an animal or an insect or to go to some place like a hell. It's not like the fire that the Christians think of, but it takes a whole lot of negative karma to get there. But to actually go beyond the material existence to actually make progress to where either you're born into a spiritual family or around spiritual people, or in the astral realm to where you're conscious and you're working with your subtler energies. Things don't work the same way. You're not eating the same way. You're just working with energy. You're not having to have a job in the same way. You're working in a purely subtle, energetic sense, and you don't look the same physically, and you don't have the same nature of limbs, your senses, if you're working in the astral realm, if you are awake in the astral realm during an astral birth, before you come here, but even when you're there and you're never be born materially again, you won't have the same sex organs. There's no need to make babies through sex. But you definitely won't be having the same senses in the astral realm. Every single one of your senses has every other seed of every other sense. Like you can hear out of your eyes, for instance, just every other sense is in each sense, because you're so subtle that you can experience through your senses in a way that you never did before. You might still be anthropomorphic, but you don't operate the same way. You don't need to eat in the same way or think in the same way, and people can see your thoughts, see right through you. If it's a positive astral dimension, that won't be a big deal. It'd actually be more useful than to have to speak. But it's important to, even if you don't feel like you're working with energy while you're here or you're attuning to something spiritually, it's important to try and to keep trying and to try to feel yourself beyond this flesh suit that is the human body, to try to work with those subtler parts of yourself. If you can do that, you'll make way more progress, because people don't just go to heaven if you don't do something terrible, and then you're there forever. It doesn't really make any sense when you think about it. If you were in heaven forever and, if you just die and then you go to a heaven or go to hell forever, it doesn't really make sense, because it's like, okay, well then the soul has nothing to do. It just suffers or enjoys forever. What makes more sense is that there's still other levels to make progress in various ways, to work towards. It's not enough just to live and not be a dick and die. You'll just be born in a similar life next time. Death doesn't assure a reward or a punishment. It is an in-between phase, and for this material body, and then it's an in-between phase for the astral body as well. It's a door. It is not an ending or a beginning. It is a continuation, unless we use our time here wisely to attune to our subtler natures, to enhance our energy in various fashions. However you view that being, no religion is completely wrong or completely right, and every spiritual path leads somewhere. But it does lead. It does go somewhere. It is a line. It is a straight line rather than a circle. If you have no spiritual path, then samsara, just birth, death, here again and again and again. If you have any spiritual interests at all, then you made a lot of progress in former lives. So use it. Develop your spiritual path. Ultimately, the essence of every spiritual path is subtle. Thank you very much for watching. Like this video. Share wherever you would like to share it. And leaving comments also helps get traffic to my channel. Thank you very much. Follow the spiritual path. And I hope all of you have a wonderful day.